could believe, looking at life in France in 1914, that the country, along with the whole of Europe, was about to be struck by one of the most terrible tragedies in history? It is true that Alsace-Lorraine was still an unhealed wound, and that there was bitter hatred of the Germans, still known by the insulting name of Les Boches. But nobody really thought that war was possible. There had been peace for nearly 45 years. It was the time of the Franco-Russian alliance, and the Entente Cordiale had replaced the old rivalry with Britain. But the danger was there. Europe's peace was an armed one. The Germany of Kaiser Wilhelm II wanted a place in the sun. The Parisian crowd filled the Avenue du Bois. Paris danced in the beautiful summer of 1914. And then a spark set everything aflame.
In 1914, Europe embarked on a catastrophic war that would eventually engulf combatants from all 5 continents. It was a global war, fought on land, sea and air, claiming 4 empires and over 10 million lives. Many more lives were blighted by the effects of war. It left Europe, once the cultural center of the world, so deeply divided by political rancor and racial hatred that a Second World War was inevitable. The tragedy is that the First World War need not have happened at all, but for a little more prudence and common goodwill. There were many things that united Europe in the hot summer of 1914. Much of the continent's culture and society were shared institutions. Her royal houses were linked by blood or marriage. Germany's Kaiser Wilhelm II was the nephew of Britain's Edward VII and a cousin of Tsar Nicholas of Russia. At Edward VII's funeral, no less than 7 crowned heads of state followed his coffin. The royal heads also held honorary positions in each other's armed forces. For example, here is the newly crowned George V and Tsar Nicholas dressed in German uniforms. But there are also many simmering tensions. The rapid rise of a united Germany in the world order of the industrial nations was a particular source of tension. France was particularly implacable. She still harbored a deep resentment following her humiliating defeat by Prussia in 1871 and the loss of territories in Alsace and Lorraine. France's great ally, Russia, was also increasingly alarmed by Germany's rise, as it threatened her dominance in Central and Eastern Europe. Britain, on the other hand, remained rather aloof from the problems of her European neighbours, basking in the security and prestige that came with her empire and Commonwealth. But Britain was alarmed by growing German militarism. Germany wanted a place on the top table of nations and was prepared to use force of arms to establish its credentials. Although most of Germany is landlocked, the Kaiser was deeply envious of Britain's Royal Navy. He was determined to have a fleet to rival the Royal Navies. In Admiral von Tirpitz, he had an enthusiastic supporter who set about turning the Kaiser's dream into a reality, much to Britain's consternation. In 1905, HMS Dreadnought had been built and launched in 4 months. This new class of battleship represented an enormous step forward, giving the Royal Navy a significant advantage, even though she cost over £3 million to build. Her launch led to an arms race as the world's navies realized the Dreadnought represented the future of